did you know that the majority of gains in speed made by the human body are done by the eyes? In fact, in sport in the modern day, there's been a huge shift towards vision training because it seems like the best way to get gains in speed in sports is to know what to look at, where to look at it, and how to process that information. This is something I've spent a lot of time studying in my cubing life as well as in my career and my job. And so today is going to be the first of a series of videos where I look at the impact that vision training can have on speed cubing and see if any of the vision drills used by professional and competitive athletes have any validity in the realm of speed cubing. Today we're going to be looking at peripheral vision, which in my opinion is the most overlooked aspect of vision when it comes to vision training in sport. So first, before we get specifically into cubing, let's just talk about it from an athletic perspective as to why peripheral vision might even be helpful for speed in the first place. Let's take sprinting as an example because it's pretty clear cut that you just want to go really, really fast and have nothing else. So having a wider peripheral vision, being able to see more of the world around us at once, means that we're able to take in more information about everything that's going on without having to move our eyes. Now, one of the things that people might not realize is every single time we move our eyes in any direction, there are tons of reflexive spinal movements that happen all the way down the spinal cord, all the way through our body. Movement of the eyes causes muscles to fire as if we were going to start turning in that direction. Now, these muscle contractions can be really small, so small in fact that you might not actually see any physical turning happen. Nevertheless, they are there, and their presence is going to send a signal up to the brain to tell it that the body is ready to rotate. Now, for a sprinter running at full speed, that's really bad news because rotation in the trunk is going to change the forces traveling through the ankle and traveling through the knees. And since the sprinter is already at full exertion, it's not going to want to put any more strain on the body. So what does the brain do to combat this? Well, it's going to weaken all of the muscles. It's going to reduce the power output of the muscles. So by widening the peripheral vision and being able to keep your eyes just focusing dead ahead, our sprinter is now able to run at a faster speed because it's not going to have to move its eyes anytime new information comes into the periphery. It's going to be able to take that information in and process it without any movement. And so for speed cubers, it's going to play a slightly different role. So obviously with speed cubing, we're sitting down at a table. We're not necessarily going to need to have detailed information about all of the things that are going on around us because most of it doesn't really matter that much. In fact, you could probably argue that narrowing some of that really wide peripheral vision might be to an advantage so that you're not distracted by stuff that's going on in the wider world. One thing we do have to do a lot of though is to spend a lot of time looking around the cube, looking around the puzzle for specific pieces that we want to solve. And every time we want to see a piece, we're going to move our eyes. Every time we move our eyes, that's going to take energy. And so if we can use our detailed peripheral vision to be able to spot more pieces more quickly with less movement, we're going to become more energy efficient and we're going to be able to spot things quicker at the same time. And I think you'll agree that's going to be pretty useful for every event, maybe not FMC. And in particular, there could be really big advantages for bigger cubes since all of the additional pieces are going to provide extra noise. So if I'm having to move my eyes between each one, that's going to be a lot more eye movements before I get to the right piece. If I can see it in my periphery, that should cut out quite a lot of work. So this month I want to put that to the test. I'm entered into the British Blind Off in Sheffield, and they've got 6x6 and 7x7 events both happening there. I'm nowhere near fast enough to get my average of 3 in both of them, so I really want to work on getting my times down as much as I possibly can. So as a bit of a test, I want to see if I can do this entirely through solving 6x6 and 7x7 and adding in peripheral vision training. So first off, let's have a look at some of the ways that athletes are going to test and assess their detailed peripheral vision. What we got here is called a peripheral vision chart. So the idea for this test is you're going to look at this little smiley face here and then with your eyes fixed on that smiley face, you're going to try and read the letters from the innermost circle all the way around to the outermost circle. You're never allowed to let your eyes move away. It's all got to be done through your peripheral vision. Or if you want to make it even harder, you could maybe try to find the alphabet in order from A through to Z, and then that way you've got to be just taking in information all the way around all the time. Because you're not letting your eyes move in this one, the speed at which you can do it is a pretty true assessment of how good your peripheral vision is. Not only how wide you're able to see, but how well you're actually able to process the information in that visual field. And then the second chart that I've got here is called a Schulze table. So in this one, you don't have to fix your eyes anywhere. You're free to look around the chart as much as you like. And the idea is you're going to find the numbers from 1 through to 25 as quickly as you possibly can. So while your eyes are allowed to move, the less that they do so and the more that you use your peripheral vision to help you find the numbers, the quicker you're going to be able to get this done. This one I think uses peripheral vision in a little bit more of the way that we would do so in cubing, because we are going to be allowing our eyes to move. We are going to be specifically looking at different things, but we want to be picking up extra information the whole time that we're doing that. So the plan is that I'm going to be training both of those daily to just try and increase my speed, increase my comprehension of my peripheral vision, to see if I can get some sort of an improvement with my cubing times. Now, the next thing that I want to do is I want to take these concepts of peripheral vision training and try and find a drill that I can apply specifically to cubing, so I've got a drill that's actually closer to what I'm trying to achieve. So for this, I've come up with what I call the peripheral solve. The idea of this is I'm going to try and solve a cube while only ever looking at the center caps. So all the useful information is going to come through my peripheral vision. I am allowed to move my eyes, but only when I'm performing a cube rotation, so that I can switch to, another center cap. So if that's a cube rotation or maybe a wide move where there will be a different center cap on the top, my eyes are going to shift to look at that one. Otherwise, they're going to stay completely still. While I'm going to try this with bigger cubes, it's obviously not going to work so well with even number cubes. So I'll be doing 5x5 and 7x7. I'll leave out the 4 and 6.
Oh, this is way harder than I thought it was going to be. We'll see if it actually helps at all, but either way, I would really encourage people to try this, because it almost feels like it's more eye movements. It feels like I'm moving my eyes more because they have to switch every time I move center. I don't know if that is true or if that makes sense. The other thing that I didn't really take into account is that your peripheral vision is really bad at noticing color. It's really good at noticing movement, but color doesn't like so much. So I got, oh, there we go. 4 minutes and 9. So that's double what it normally takes. My eyes need a rest after that. I'm just going to jump straight into the 7 and see how that is. After the 5, I'm not really looking forward to this that much. Okay, well that's cool. Already it's getting me to try things I wouldn't normally try. Yeah, even if I'm cheating in this, I can still, I can feel my eyes working hard. I actually think I'm enjoying this more than the 5. Oh, there goes my white. Oh, that's annoying. Okay, I was enjoying it more than 5 until that was, there's points where my brain just gives up and says, we're not doing this anymore. And then I can get myself back into it. Ooh, 8:36. Okay, there's no way I did that properly. That's not that far off my average. My average is about 7 minutes. Bringing down to it, 3x3 was really fun. 5 I disliked more, but maybe 5 actually was just a nice warm-up for 7. I think I'm going to just roll with doing the 3x3 peripheral solve as often as I can, and then maybe 1 5 every day and 1 7 every time I can bring in myself to have the motivation. I still think if my peripheral vision's getting better, hopefully I should still see the results with the 6 and 7. That's what I'm going with anyway. So I just got to Sheffield. Competition is tomorrow, and overall everything's been going really well so far. So we'll see how things go in the morning. But I've been doing the Schulter table and the peripheral cards, not so much. The 3x3 peripheral solve, literally all the time. I haven't done any regular 3x3 solve since that one's felt the nicest. I haven't done any regular 7x7 solving. I just did the peripheral because I started, after a couple of rounds of it, I started getting similar times, and it's probably because I'm not doing it completely properly. For the 6x6, before, I had only ever got one solve under 4 minutes, so I got 3 minutes 50 seconds. Since I've started doing this, I've had a good 20 or 30 solves under 4 minutes, so overall everything's just been going really well. So we'll see when stress levels go up with competition, especially on the 6x6, where I'm always really worried about potentially popping things, how it goes. But otherwise, yeah, everything has been really great. Okay, so I've been trying to get this final part of the video made for more than a month, and I just haven't been able to find a time and a slot to sit down and get everything set up. So I'm just going to finish it with a very lazy handheld bit. So basically, unfortunately, the competition did not go as brilliantly as I was hoping. So while I did beat my 6x6 PB by about 20 seconds, I think, the other two solves just went pretty badly, and the 7x7 solve as well. So one of the things that happened for a long time with 6 and 7 cubes is I just suddenly hit this block with G-perms, because I had, in the alg I use, I have to do a U and a D turn at the same time, because it takes so much effort to stabilize that on the 6x6 or 7. By the time I'd done those two moves, I just blanked on what part of the algorithm I was at, and that was something I thought I had got over, and it just kind of came back in the competition, and I ended up getting 2 G-perms that kind of messed up the solve. So things didn't go as well in that regard. Also, I think I put too much pressure on making the whole peripheral vision thing be the thing that saves the solve. So while I was doing all that practice, I did kind of have a feeling going into the comp that, alright, no matter what happens, these 2 times need to be better. And I very rarely do that. Even for the events that I care about, I very rarely go in with an idea that I have to perform a certain way. I'm usually much more chilled out about it. So with that in mind, I'll try and figure out a better way to test out these things so that they can benefit for comps as well. That being said, I 100% am sold that doing this peripheral stuff is going to be a really good thing for me on big cubes. I was already sold with smaller cubes, with 3x3. It's something that since then, for the last couple of months, I've been doing regularly. I am also going to figure out a way to implement it more long-term in the bigger cubes as well. So, yeah. I think this is definitely the way to go for me. I would love to know what you think, if you've tried this, if it's something that you would consider doing, and what your kind of results are if you try this kind of solve. So let me know in the comments. Let me know what you tried, how it worked, and I will see you in the next video.